Share the live, share the live, share the live. Good evening. Share the live as you join. Please share the live. Thank you very much. As you join, please share the live. Good evening to you, Dr. Matthews-Bey in the house. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Good evening to those who are now joining from Guyana to the diaspora and to the Americas. Good evening. Or from the Southwest Semixium or Atlantis. I think Atlantis is the right word. Good evening from Atlantis. Islam Moors, good evening from Atlantis. To those who are now joining, good evening, good evening, good evening. Good evening from Atlantis or the Southwest Semixium. To the Moors who know and understand or comprehend what I'm speaking about, good evening. Share the live, share the live, share the live. Share the live as you know. Join, share the live. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Good evening to those who are now joining. Islam, Islam to you. Moors, Islam. Islam, 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 all one of you. Islam, this is Dr. Matthews-Bey coming to you live. Okay? Tonight will be episode 6 of Enforcing the Constitution or Enforce the Constitution, episode 6. So, good evening to you. Share the live as you now join. Share the live. Good evening to those who are joining on the GMS Live Radio Guyana. So, I presume that you all had a wonderful weekend. I also presume that you would have had some quality family time to come back here today. Well, today's Tuesday. I was supposed to come on yesterday, but it worked out. But today I'm going to expound upon a few topics, and the main one to get straight into it is fear. So now, before I start a discussion, excuse me, I am a bit, yes, I'm a bit tired to those who are looking, and I wish I could have done something better before I started, but let me start by the way, anyhow. Enforcing the Constitution is something that I would want most of us who are Moors to understand. And when I mean Moors, Aboriginal, Indigenous people. And when I'm talking about Moors, it's merely expressing myself that to know that we had contributed to society, whether we build and, and contributed to society or we help each other as as brothers and sisters to deal with what is up ahead of us. Now, let's talk about fear. And I know to those who are now looking, who are now joining, black love to you all. The brand still is available. The number is 592-611-6575. You can call and we can make the other arrangement on the Black Love brand. Fear is a topic that I wanted to expound upon tonight because I figured out that we're so much filled with fear that we don't want to get rid of it. It's hard to it's hard to look at fear in that manner, but we have to because we're experiencing, not we, most of Aboriginal people are experiencing the fear within the fear. And why do I say so? It says all human beings and humans are not living souls, they are dead people. All humans, dead organisms, live in fear of fear. And the reason why it's saying so, remember now, in order for you to be afraid of death, you would have had to heighten your fear. And that's what the capitalist system, or that's what the system in general capitalizes on and make money off of your own fear. All they have to do is to call you, nod your head, and you then agree to Spanish fear, or not Spanish. You then agree to go any other fear that makes you feel comfortable. But that is a different fear. The fear I'm talking about, it is the fear of fear itself. I highlighted three things to show you the kind of fear that I'm talking about. One, the fear of failure. Two, the fear of chaos. And three, the fear of loss. These things measures our ability to think, measures this particular thing, measures our ability to respond, not within the teachings of being fearless. It is it is the individual itself. You know, let me go on. When you have the fear of failure, the fear of loss, the fear of chaos, it creates instability. And instability makes you lose control. Let's go on that topic. The fear of failure. Most of us do not want to invest or go into a particular interest of a topic to invest our time and money into it because of the fear of failure. And what is failure? Failure is that when someone teaches you that you're not business wise, you're like, no matter how educated you are or educated you are, someone will always come and tell you, oh, that's not right. This is right. That's not left. This is left. And they will go into your failure of fear to tell you what you cannot do and what you can do. So when you tend to wander off on what you can do, then they put stumbling blocks into your brain to tell you, see, you can't do this because you're not cut out to do that. That's the fear of failure. And we should not think like that. We're all cut out to do exactly what we want to do. The failure is what deprives us, which lies within us. I'm going to show you something. When you have loss, like some persons would have either invest in something, in some kind of business like investment. something that can deal with economics and the expansion of economics within the community. Let us say like a wholesale shop, and you're all that bright, you light up, but suddenly you realize your investment hasn't brought much into you. So you increase in the fear of failure because of the fear of loss. And then we also have the fear of chaos. Now, what is the fear of chaos? Again, we gone back to our lives. Uh, the youth may think that it's living in your house. It's time for him or her to venture on their own in whatever area. If they want to go lime, they want to go take a walk with their friends, or they want to take a drive out of town. But they go into areas and places that they should not go. When they put up with that, you have a fear of chaos because we don't know where we are. Some of them don't know who they are at the time, and chaos steps in. And when chaos steps in, you can hardly get to balance your conversation. You find that there's a nagging and a pulling and a pushing, even in the workplace, because it's a fear of chaos. And you combine all these three together, and you have the fear of instability. To some, I comprehend that it's hard for you to comprehend what is being said. But my teaching to you tonight is based upon the simple control of instability. Because if you allow instability to lose control, well, then the fear steps in and it subjects you to a more deeper sphere, fear of, if you realize, these nights I use the word slavery, because you are unable to think for yourself. You are unable to create stability in an in an instabilized uh, era. In other words, to try to say that you can hardly get stabilization in an era that is unstabilized, or into an era that is far much more instability, has far much more instability than to be stable. Then we have then we have the word upstick. Upstick is to keep the families in detainment. They believe that is self exists into something bigger, which can be called faith. Now, here we have another word that you call faith. The scripture will tell you faith, substance of things hoped for and evidence of things not seen. But also people use the word that fear is the beginning of knowledge. That increases faith. But faith only increases stabilization. Nothing more else. There's no evolution in faith. Because in order to understand your faith, you must believe. And it's hard to understand all these things at one time. But that's the only way you can understand faith, is if you believe. If by believing you increase faith. But belief and faith, right? Belief and faith only stabilizes one thing or the other. It is yourself, and you won't move off from there, because to believe is to be stagnant. A pleasant night to you. Um, Welcome to the Dr. Matthews-Bey show. Well, I'm fired up. I did not too long started. Yeah. Islam, I said, okay. Mhm. Okay. Well, tonight we're talking about the fear that one in oneself, and the existence of that in one's belief that creates fear, because creates faith, as a matter of fact. Because as some people will say, and as a topic, some people will say that the increase of fear is because of having knowledge, right? That's their belief. So because you think to fear increases the knowledge of God, it creates a belief in oneself that creates faith. So I'm saying to believe is to believe is to be stagnant. So faith will encourage you to be stagnant in your belief. That creates the fear within the individual who's already feared.
Nice. I'm trying to think of a way I can articulate it in a simpler form. Hmm. Okay. Let's put it this way.
And mind you, before you start, I am merely addressing the Moors, because most, to those who are looking, I think they can comprehend, to those who understand at that level or limit. But I'm addressing the Moors here this evening. Go ahead.
All right. Um. Okay. Let's look at the seed.
Hmm.
All right. A seed is from a fruit that has been severed from a living tree.
Hmm.
All right. Once the seed is severed from its source of life, from the fruit rather, severed from the source of life, comes at the end thing.
Hmm.
Now, what makes us as a living being that we can take a seed and put it into the ground, a dead seed, and give it life?
Hmm.
I would say that our expectation, right? Our expectation, along with our belief that once we put the seed in the ground, it will germinate. All
Okay.
right. There is nothing that can say that when a seed go in the ground, it must grow, it must germinate.
Hmm.
So I believe it has a lot to do with your belief at that point. Your belief and your expectation strengthens your belief, and more so, your demonstration by putting it into the ground is the main part of it.
Hmm.
The action. So it's a combination of things. And as Moors, we have a famous saying: a Moor is known by showing or demonstrating. So you know, in that moment, which might you might be able to expand upon. In
Hmm.
that moment, we will, we create our legend
Okay.
because
I think you jumped the gun a bit there.
it's our actions. Yeah, even if you want to reference something from the Bible or the Old Testament,
Hmm.
all the people demonstrated. We're no different from them that are in the old scriptures. We're no different from them,
Okay. Why
and they demonstrated their action.
why I kind of raised this
So
topic tonight? It is because you find, I don't want to cut you, but you find that there is a lot of expectation in an individual from persons who believe in them, right? It's like you
yeah,
find a leader, and you
Mhm.
expect from the leader to raise an awareness on your behalf. But if the leader does not teach those who follow him
Mhm.
to raise awareness in themselves, instead of not only believing in themselves, it's like know yourself.
Yeah,
And if
well,
you
it
fail
starts with you.
and if you fail to know yourself, well, then how can you trust in someone who you claim to be a leader?
Exactly. If you don't know yourself,
Right.
if you don't know yourself, it starts with you. That's why everything, and even in all the old scriptures, everything started with you.
Hmm.
With you. What you believe and what you're willing to do to make your belief come into manifestation or reality.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's all beginning with you the individual. So that's why it says know thyself. In order for one to know thyself,
Hmm.
it means that you have to dig deep within yourself
Hmm.
to realize the qualities that you have. You understand? Nobody can activate something in you other than you.
Right. Right.
You understand? There are people that are going to speak keywords, key phrases, and stuff like that when they speak to you about or in explaining certain things.
Hmm.
But there's something within you when you hear certain words, you activate that side of you that has been dormant.
Uh-huh.
You activate your powers because like I say, sometimes people speak to you in a simple tone,
Hmm.
and man, they say one word or two phrases, and it activates something within your mind that, oh my goodness, wow, I never thought of this. I didn't think of that.
Oh.
In that manner. And before you know it, you're on to the next phase because now you're trying to use that knowledge that you just possessed.
Yes.
And you had it the whole time.
Hmm.
You had it within you the whole time. But you see, we've been asleep for so long as a generation
Hmm.
of beings that, uh, you know, asleep and deceived for so long that when you're awakened and you have to use your creative side of your brain,
Hmm.
a lot of people have gotten accustomed to things just being simplified, and nobody wants to think for themselves or think as an individual. So now you settle for someone leading you because it's comfortable for you.
Right. Right. So see,
Operate within that element.
so safely are we saying that we need to find our groove? We need to comprehend when we find the groove, what do we do? Do we capitalize on it and increase it? Like instead of procrastinate on it, we evolve, or we just stick around and procrastinate? Because
Well, that depends.
a lot of us procrastinate, but we don't know that we're procrastinating because constant
Of fear.
constant work on the body, constant work on the brain
Hmm.
keeps you intact, keeps you intact
Yes.
not only with your ancestral lineage, but keeps you intact spiritually. But
Yes.
because we sit around and procrastinate, it's harder for us to develop. So we create
A
we
a
a
comfort
comfort zone,
zone.
right? So we already
A
fear you,
mental comfort zone
right?
in which when you sit in there,
Mm.
well, I am where I feel comfortable, and you're not gonna push the envelope. You're not gonna say. You're not gonna piss the wrong people off because you already set a limit within yourself that if I do this, this
Mm.
person is gonna get upset with me, or you're already preconceiving what you think they will do to
Right.
you
If you do
instead
this.
of doing it and wait to see if they can do anything about it. Because they might not even, you giving them more credit for stuff that ain't even, they might not even be having that kind of thought process.
So true.
They might not be having that kind of thoughts. But because you present that to yourself,
Hmm.
now you're sitting back expecting them to just do what they do. So any action they make now, or any attempt to do anything, is always going to fall into what you perceive it to be, because you've already set the perimeter to accept that
Hmm.
within yourself. So a lot of times the word fear, like I remember an elder told me, he said, an olive yields its best quality when it's under pressure.
Hmm.
All right, and
Oh my gosh. You want to repeat the word?
you
Let me
know,
hear again.
he said
Mm.
an olive yields its best quality
When it's
when
under
it's under
pressure.
pressure. So
Oh.
he said, so he asked me, what are you going to be? Are you going to be an olive, or are you going to just be just the average person? You
Hmm.
understand? And if you're going to do something to make a mark of refinement on this planet, then you're going to have to see yourself as an olive. You're going to have to go through. That's why they tell you about going through the fire, and turning as pure gold and all of that stuff, because everybody has to go. You have to prepare yourself.
So
Look, I want betterment.
here was the next thing I want to ask. I read a story where the illustrator was trying to refer to human beings, which I call dead people, as
Hmm.
crabs in a barrel, and he was giving the simple introduction. He says, "Do you know why the fisherman doesn't put a lid over the bucket of crabs? Because when one hits the top,
The other's gonna pull it
the
down.
others is going to pull it down. So he pays no
Yeah.
attention to the bucket of crabs because
You know.
he already knows the design, the DNA, the culture of the crabs.
Uh
So
huh.
fast forward, if you
Uh
realize
huh.
now they're treating all humans like stock and animals because it's like they embedding you at an early stage where look, we know if we educate you this way, we know what you're going to grow up to be.
Hmm.
So we just have to give you the first
It's
stage.
it, it's called programming.
Right, programming. But we just have to give you the first stage and just allow that stage to run through, and eventually you will program yourself in such a way that we don't even have to look at you now. It's like years ago we have to watch you with a whip to do the work as a
Yeah.
slave. Now they don't.
No. Well, because look, if you look at it in the sense, okay, you have a birth certificate,
Mm.
right? You have a driver's license. Uh, Everything that you do pretty much have a serial number attached to it. You do
Mm.
and possess whatever you have. It has a serial number attached to it. Now,
Mm.
every serial number, all right, is being traded on the stock market. So even if it's something that you work hard and you purchase, all right,
Mm.
with what they give you and call money, it's really of no value to you.
Mm.
All right, because the best value of it is that they have you doing what they want you to do, and they're buying and selling you with a smile on your face, and you showing up to work to help sell yourself.
Mm.
Okay, because at the end of the day, you check them birth certificate numbers. and so forth, you're going to see they have QSIPs applied to them.
Okay.
And the QSIP number is a number that is recognized within the trading system, the financial trading system.
Mm-hmm.
And that's global. That's global. So, they, they have you showing up 8 to 5 or whatever to sell and trade yourself. And who's benefiting from it? They are. Because who created the infrastructure to do exactly what is being done? They are.
Right.
All right. So now, when you look at the system, and I like dealing with folks who like to throw their degrees in your face.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I have this degree and that degree and so forth. Now, I like to call them intellectual idiots, because with your degrees, you still haven't learned the basic stuff yet. That you're still a slave. All they train you to do is to join the wheel and help maintain it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They never taught you how to create a wheel.
Okay.
You understand? Or create something other than the wheel.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you look at it, half of the people today, and 90% of the people today, all the degrees that they went to school and college and all the stuff that they put themselves in debt in
Mm-hmm.
obtaining, ask them how many of them are working in the field
Of what
of
they
that degree,
obtained. Ah, I see.
what they went to school and studied for. All right, so now you're going
Mm.
to see how you're being played. Because check your degree and check your field of operation and see if they match. Some people are fortunate, yes, but you might get an engineering degree and you're in the field of engineering, but ask yourself, how much engineering are you really doing?
Right.
Or you get a degree in the field of management, but are you really managing? Because they're gonna always put somebody to manage you.
But remember,
So you have
I was just going to say that, because whilst you're managing,
you have your masters
there's
and
someone
someone with a less
managing you, because
form of
they don't want you to go out of place. You know, it's like
exactly. So you
I'm examining my daughter's work from school day before yesterday. Yesterday, and I had to post it up because her homework was Christopher Columbus, and
yeah.
you imagine she's telling me, she has to study this for marks, because if she don't study it and present it, she can't get the marks. But I'm saying, imagine you have to study something that is false. They're already teaching you to lie.
Exactly.
They're already teaching you to submit
Exactly.
false work. Imagine
Yeah.
they're teaching you as a child to lie on somebody who's already uh, 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 f-
Lied
uh,
on many things.
right, which is Christopher Columbus. He never discovered anything. The, the, the,
He
the,
didn't discover anything.
the only the only history is there is that for himself and his brother when they were on the island of Hispaniola, and they murdered all those indigenous people.
Yeah,
And
but
I'm like,
even to go further, look. All right, like okay, if you follow the news, certain news, because certain mainstream news are going to hide certain stuff from you.
of course, definitely.
But if you watch what the Russian president did recently,
Oh yeah,
uh, that information that they released when they open the archives and they release it. All right, now that right there, it put a full stop to a lot of BS.
of course.
All right, and now when we tell folks, listen, a corporation is not a person. So therefore, a corporation cannot, and I'll say this again, a corporation cannot own land.
Mm.
Okay? A corporation cannot own land because a corporation is not a person. All right? Land cannot be bought or sold, but it can only be inherited. Okay?
Okay.
It can only be inherited, and I'm going to get back to this to address some issues that's taking place in that land right now where you at, because a lot of people are doing a lot of things that they have no business doing because that's not their place to give or take.
Here was the funny. Here was the
They're
funny
not
part.
even part of the bloodline
Here was the funny
to do
part.
that.
And this will show you how they're taking advantage of most subjects that are in the corporation of Guyana. We call Guyanese. Lands and
Yes.
survey. Lands and survey in the corporation are the only authorized body, according to the corporation, right? To
Mm-hmm.
to buy and sell lands according to the corporation, right?
Yeah. Well, nobody,
Hold on,
no corporation, and
hold on.
I repeat
I know,
this,
but
just
according to
for
the
the record.
corporation, right? The
Uh-huh.
there are two different bodies here: the government and the lands and survey. Now,
Mm-hmm.
the corporation rules is that the government buys land from lands and survey to distribute for economic
Nonsense.
purposes. They don't even do that.
Nonsense. Nonsense.
You understand?
Nonsense. Nonsense.
And then
Nonsense. And any scholar there in Guyana that want to debate that, I'm open to have that discussion because, again,
mm,
a corporation is not a person.
right.
All right? A corporation cannot buy and sell land. Okay, it's like right now I can tell you all mortgages are fraud. It's fraudulent all the way through. So those people who are ripping folks off and telling them that they're selling them land and all of that, you cannot sell anything that you don't own because if you cannot prove by your blood
That you own it, you can't sell it.
that you own it, it's not yours. Okay, and the only way you can prove by blood that it is yours, you rather have certain documents, and if you don't have those documents to show your indigenous bloodline, oh, papi, no, you don't own no land. You cannot sell anything because if you believe what I'm saying is nonsense, look at it this way. I want everybody that's listening to this that's a property owner. Look at your mortgage if you have one. Check and see where the bank signs on the document. Show me the bank signature. Or post it, send it to Gavin and let him post it. Show the bank signature where they sign alongside you. When you find that, I will be happy to see it. Because all mortgage contracts are unilateral. Is you are the one who are the creditor. Your signature as an individual person, your signature is what they're marketing and making money off of. Or not money, but they're using it to generate whatever they want to generate
Right.
credit off of. Alright? Other than that, you're buying and selling your own self. And they're making the profit from you. They're profiting from off of you.
First, we want to break it down how you're buying your and selling your own self. First, you have to approach for the loan. You're applying for the loan. Second, they're granting you. Second, they're granting you your own money, which is your labor.
No, it's not money.
But it's not money. It's fiat currency. But
it's currency. They first of all, a dollar. Okay, let's define that. A dollar is defined by a fixed weight of gold.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so if you're not exchanging gold for a title with somebody, then you're wasting your time because all you're getting is scam. Is the mortgage companies are fraudulent. There's a thing called fractional lending. Okay, and that means that all the banks don't have money. They're using your signature to generate money, to generate their use their fiat to generate wealth off of you. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so once you understand that you are the original creditor, all right, your signature, that wet ink signature that you put on a piece of paper, all right, and read the mortgage contract and see who is lending who. Really understand who is lending who. See who's lending who. Because you're extending credit as a living person to them. And they're the ones going out and profit and take your signature and trade it on the market. And they're making tons of what you're supposed to be getting. And then they turn around and charging you interest and making you pay them.
And you
So who's the fool? Who is the fool? Because you turn out to be the fool. I'm the one that's paying for something that I lend. Basically, I'm lending you something, and there's. You ever heard we used to, you ever, they used to have these things they used to say years ago. When somebody sell you something that they didn't own. You could remember it used to make it out of a riddle.
oh,
Somebody trying to sell you the Harbor Bridge or something.
I call those
You
properties, I call
understand?
them
They
M&E.
don't own it, but they're selling it.
Right.
Exactly. It's the same very thing that's taking place with the mortgages. You
Mm-hmm.
go to the bank and ask them right now, any one of the banks that have a mortgage for you, ask them to provide you that contract that you signed with
Mm-hmm.
your wedding signature, and I guarantee you they don't have it to give you.
Mm-hmm.
With your original signature. They don't have it to give you because all of that is stuff that they use to trade on the market. You
Understood.
call the mortgage company and ask them to present you a copy of your original contract that you signed. They don't have it.
Okay. Well,
They don't have it.
we're gonna take a minute and we're gonna wrap up, and then I'm
All
gonna
right.
continue with the next end of the program, right? But I want to thank you very much for
Sure.
calling in and
No problem.
sharing some
Anytime, man. Anytime.
sharing some knowledge, right?
Anytime.
Yeah, brother. And
Yes.
I appreciate you calling in, and you're one of the mores that I appreciate a lot that will call in and share your knowledge and be able to help people know that it's not only Gavin Matthews alone. There are more than lots of us,
Yeah, man. We gotta wake up. We gotta
right?
wake up. We gotta wake up and stop being dependent.
Right.
Sometimes a little bit being a little bit uncomfortable is a good thing
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah.
because comfortable make you aware,
Yes.
of your surroundings and what's going on.
And help
So,
people to know that
folks,
who is with you and who's not.
exactly,
Okay. So
exactly. But anyway,
yeah.
enjoy and keep going, man. Keep going, bro. We're proud of you, man. We're proud of you. We're proud of you. We needed that voice, and everybody, like I said, all the brothers over here, we're supporting what you're doing, and trust me, we're gonna shake Guyana to the core.
Well,
You
once
know.
again, I want to thank you very much for calling in, and you stay safe, be careful. Okay?
Yes, man.
Yeah.
All right. Peace.
Peace.
All right.
Peace, my brother. Thank you very much. So there we have it, and we can continue the conversation. To those who were looking, the conversation is based upon fear, right? And fear is something that we would want to get into because the fear of fear, we already living in fear. There's too much there's too much evidence to show that it's fear we're living by or we're living in. So when we add fear to that, our own personal fear, it becomes a more heavier burden, and we are unable to comprehend the truth. We're unable to see the we're unable to see the villain from the wrongs that they're doing to you who are suffering, you who are being oppressed. So one of the laws of attraction is to try to eradicate fear and think positively. So you attract that which is positive. But we need to put ourselves in a position where collectively we educate each other by an edification process, like what I'm doing here now. You know, to comprehend one's, I gotta stop using the word understand, but to comprehend one's design and desire to move on, you need to overcome fear. We need to tell ourselves that this is not about faith. This is not about belief, because for you to increase faith, you need to believe. But the word believe is to be stagnant. The word evolve is to know. So you've already overcome fear. You have already seen what faith is about, and you've already moved away from your belief pattern, because that is how they have you in this society living. They have you in an increased fear. They have you believing in something that personally does not exist. And by doing that, it is what you call faith. And by doing these things, you experience these things. You experience failure, you experience loss, and you experience chaos. And you join all those three things together, and you have instability. So having an unstable body, not chemically balanced, you will always be sick. You will always be sick. You will always struggle from the chronic ailing disease because you are not at ease. There's no stability. There's always instability. There's no stabilizing process. So you can evolve. And that's how they have you. To be unstable or to be unstable, as how we put it. They control the food that you eat, they control your education pattern, they control the medication that you take. You see how you're in a system? So that system now capitalizes upon your belief pattern because they have already injected it into you since you were a baby. So what happens now? We tell ourselves that we're unable to become leaders unto ourselves. We want one person to control all of us. So by doing that, it's what you call a capitalist system. Cap, divide and control, capitalist system. And having that capitalist system, they create what you call democracy. And having that democracy, they're being able to control you. To come out of that democratic state is to acknowledge your aboriginal status, to say that you're indigenous, because your words are law. But the only way you can experience that, it is if you tell yourself that you can become stable. And by doing that, you create the right amount of chemicals to balance you. So your pineal gland will open. You will see things now that others can't see. And having that process done will purify your body, but you still hasn't finished there yet. You gotta look at the things that you eat. to go through that purification process. You need to tell yourself you don't eat to survive, you eat to stay healthy. That's what you got to start telling yourself. You don't eat to survive or to satisfy yourself, you eat to stay healthy. When your body is diseased and it's not at ease, they tell you to tell yourself that you're hungry. It's not that you're hungry, it's that you're ailing from within. Because you don't only eat the physical food that we talk about, it is the words that cometh. Remember, the scripture says, man shall not what survive by bread alone, but by every word that come out of thy. That's how you survive. It is because it is a healthy stage. You consume the things to stay healthy by words, thoughts, and deeds. That's how the body works. That is why to be hungry, it is because you lack the knowledge thereof. So you become hungry. Anybody will become hungry. Once you don't have the knowledge, you will be hungry. But if you don't lack the knowledge, it's impossible for you to be hungry. Then you'll get to realize that you don't eat to satisfy. You don't eat to survive, you eat to stay healthy. Because for everything that is around you, it helps you to stay alive. But they don't want us to teach you that. They want us to educate you like how you're being educated. You need to understand it's only animals are being educated. So when we use the word education, is that we're telling them that is leave up to them to educate us so we become animals. And they treat us like animals. They carry us through a process of cattle slavery. Cattle, animals. That is what is referring to slavery. Obey. It's like putting a girdle over the horse's eye and head and so he cannot look right nor left. He could only look straight in front of him. So you become a one-track minded, educated person. And when you're one track and when you one track minded, then they give you a degree. And a master's degree, like our friend was talking about, it's not a disrespect. You need to comprehend. To those who have all these PhDs and masters, it's about comprehension. That's all it is about. So they don't want us to edify you. They want us to keep on educating you. There's a difference. Educate and edify. There's always a difference. Edification and education, it's always a difference. It is just you have to know the uh how should I put it over? You have to know the etymologies of the word. Etymology means the meaning of how it was created, the formation of the word. It's like using the word obia. The word obey derived from the word obia. So how can obey be witchcraft? When obey means to simple follow the laws, obey means to simple follow the laws of nature. You understand? You comprehend? That is why edification is free and you have to pay for education. You get my point? Imagine you're already enslaved in the system. You have to educate yourself, come out from education, which is a part of enslavement, come into the working force where you have to work, you have to get a job. The word job means to be oppressed. It's a Hebrew word, job means to be oppressed. Come out of an education process means educating you to become whatever animal they see you as. Come into a job process, which means to be oppressed as an animal, and then you have to pay them Taxes, you check it. Taxes is one of them. You got to pay taxes. Then you got to pay for your education fees. Like if you did privately and you still owe them, especially if you went to University of Guyana, you still have to pay for your degrees. All these things, you got to go through the process of paying. And you can imagine it's an education process. It's not an edification process, which is edification is free. Hold on, right? Edification is free. And to those who doesn't like it, you can tell from their response. They don't like when you edify people. That is why I would sit here night after night and I will edify you. I will break things down into syllables so you can comprehend. Bring you out from the knowledge of slavery into the knowledge of an edification process. So you evolve, you stop believing, and you start knowing. When you know they can't take it from you, you stand your grounds. That becomes law because you're the Constitution. It's only you can constitute the law. That is why when I come on, I say Islam. Islam means I, self law, am master. But what they did, they took out SL and leave I am. I am means I am master. Sorry, they take out, sorry, they take out SL and leave I am. I am accustomed to saying I am, but it's supposed to be I am. I am master. That is why when they use the scripture now to educate us instead of edifying us, the same scripture, believe you me, the same scriptures that means the Bible that they talk about. When you read it properly in the way in which it's supposed to be read, then you realize that it talks about the purification of one's spiritual self. The Bible wasn't supposed to be seen as a contextual religious understanding. It was supposed to be seen in the context of a spiritual upliftment. That's why certain books like the book of Job talks about the constellation of stars and the seven stars. The seven stars which talks about the seven wonders of the earth, the seven seals, the seven trumpet, seven witches of man. Seven multiplied by 52 takes you to 360. And that 360 is the perfect man. Each point is a 90 degrees. The same scripture teaches you that. But I'm sure that if they when you find it, I'm sure that the pastor wouldn't tell you that's what it means. Because they are conditioned to arouse your belief status. It's like you're going to Bible school to be taught to arouse your belief status. So they tell you faith, evidence of things hoped for, substance of things hoped for, evidence of things not seen. So when you say hope and you look at faith, you encroach upon your belief because they will say, well, you don't see God, but you believe in God. But you failing to realize that the God that everybody's talking about, it is yourself. They're one higher than you, which you call a supreme being. So we are so conditioned that it arouses only our belief. It does not arouse your knowledge, your edification in a status in where you become knowledgeable of the fact. So instead of saying you believe, you now know. I know that I am. These are the laws that we live by. You check Check what is going to check what is being said in church on a Sunday, and you check what is being said in the courtrooms from Monday to Friday. It talks about the words that comes out of your mouth. It encroaches upon your belief status and standards. So when your belief status and standards is one position, that means that it is stagnant. You'll now be governed by acts, codes, statutes. There are others too, but the main three is acts, codes, and statutes. You're governed by it. That's why whatever you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. It's like going to confess. It's a confession. You say, "Oh, I'm a sinner because I have sinned. Now I must take my punishment because as a sinner." Because you believe that you can't move from there. You have to accept what is being taught and said to you. You cannot be guided. You could only be guided by whatever the pastor says or whatever the prophet says. But to have knowledge of the facts and to know when you're wrong and to correct it, because that's the only way you can survive and live as a human being. Sorry, and live as a living soul, not a human being. It is when you correct yourself from all the wrongs and you stand to be corrected at all times. That is the only way you can acknowledge and move on. That's the only way you can live a healthy life as a living soul, by encourage all that is positive and not negative. So speaking out against the system is not a negative thing, it's a positive thing. You have to speak out, you have to revolt. Especially when one like me sees the weakness and realizes the system capitalizes on your weakness. You check it. 90 no no 80% of the subjects of Guyanese or the Guyanese population are religious people. So eventually those puppets at the heads of the realm of state knows that you're going to go back into your place of worship to pray and to depend on a miracle, whilst they take away everything from you. It is the same way they came hundreds of thousands of years ago. They came the same way. They came with the missionaries, and whilst the missionaries teach you to believe in something, the system come and crouch upon your space and take away what is rightfully yours. So when you believe and you don't want to move off from the belief, you abandon your position. So they take your lands from you because you believe in something that they presented to you. So you become stagnant. So while you're stagnant, they're taking away your lands from you because they say, well, you cannot manage it. You now depend upon them to help you to manage it. And they're giving you a belief system so it can increase faith and have you blind to substance of things and evidence of things not even being seen. So you become stagnant. But when you look outside of the box, they teach you to stay inside of the box. But when you look outside of the box and you realize, hey, these people tell me in order to see heaven, I gotta die. But when I look out there, these people are enjoying themselves. It's actually heaven. You ever heard about the word heaven and earth? It's real. The earth is the heaven. We fail to realize that. We want to tell you, oh, the devil is the prince of the earth. Hell no. You, the sons and daughters, are prince and princesses of the earth. How come the devil become the prince of the earth? Them people running around the place shooting and killing people. Them and the devil, they are people. I ain't see the print on Satan, as you say, on them. All that is said to us is that it is pure evil to do something to another being like yourself, another living soul. So that's how the system works. The system works in stagnating you by increasing a belief system. And they do that through a religious factor. That's why religiously you don't pay tax. You don't do certain things because it's to increase and keep that lifestyle. It becomes a culture. But when you look past the religious factor and you see the text from which it was created in the beginning, then you get to understand it's the wrong thing is being taught to me. Ask any one of your religious leaders, especially those who are Christians. Go to your pastors and tell them, look, I want you to explain to me the entire book of Job. Ask him to do that, him or her. Explain to you and make sure you have a dictionary because words have meaning and they're molding powers. So when you get up to say, I am a black man, the system turns around and look at you and said, wow, this is a commodity. I can trade this. It's a stock. Because the system knows that black means it is just a color to differentiate a color of a thing in trade, in commerce, in commodity. So when you stand up and you say, oh, I'm a black man, they laugh at you. They say, look at this. I can trade this whatever. I can put it for the stock market. And you're signing to it. They ask you, can you identify yourself? What is your ethnicity? Some of us, I used to write Afro Guyanese. That name also belonged to the system. The word Africa came from the General Africanus. He named the continent after him. So all of them who say I'm African belongs to him. We're one of his children. But if we say we came from Kemeth, we came from Kush, we come from Sudan, you look at it. All of these countries, not only in on the continent of Kemeth, or we can call it Kush, or we can call it Africa, but that continent named after a dark skinned group of people, are people that are heavily melanated. You come to the Americas, it's the same thing. People that are heavily melanated, no matter what you call them. Moorish, same people. Uh, uh, Amexium, same people. Uh, what are these people that are used to fighting? There were two people, the Caribs and the Arawaks. Arawaks, same people. Swarty, small yellow, no, sorry, heavy red melanated people. The word India means indigo. Indigo means people of a dark complexion. Everything you check it, you name it, you go except for the Europe, except for the Europeans. They name after themselves Caucasian. But you check every country that has indigenous people named after the people of a dark complexion. You go to Australia, you meet up with the Aboriginals, people of a dark complexion. They resemble. So, and the thing is that they were never slaves. They were the indigenous people. People went there and meet them. So Christopher Columbus didn't discover nothing. He went there and saw people. So the only people that he could have override was those on the island of Hispaniola, which is now not, which is now Haiti and Dominican Republic. And this brother had a field day, murdering people till the Haitians decide to retaliate. Can you imagine? And that island had over 60 million people living there. That was the largest populated island in Central America. And they went there and had a field day of a massacre, murder all those people over a period of time. Fast forward to Guyana, to the corporation of Guyana, as we just talked about. Where Guyana is, southwest of Mexium was where the land that called Atlantis is. That's why you have the Atlantic Ocean. That whole corridor, all the way from Venezuela to Guyana to Suriname, that whole corridor was Atlantis. That's why the ocean, the sea, when you look out there, you go to the sea wall, you call it the Atlantic Ocean. Certain parts of the Caribbean into in Mexico, you call that particular area, that certain part of Central America into Mexico, you call that place Atlanta. But history is not going to tell you that. You ain't gonna find it in no history book. Nobody's going to tell you, oh, Europe was named after the Queen Europa. That's why when you go into Europe, you find black gods. They use the word black, but it is swarthy, people of a dark complexion, aboriginal gods. The Pope still kisses the feet of Saint Peter, who's darker than me. Who's darker than me? You know, the Trinidadian Prime Minister said the right thing the other day. She wasn't lying. She was telling the Trinidadians that her name was given to her by her ancestors. And to those who doesn't know their names were what the slave master gave them, she was right. But then she has to go back to India. Like how the rest of them here got to go back to India. Because that is where your heritage is. There was a date of entry. This is not a land for Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. That is why we now stepping in, because we need to let the world know, hey, hold up, with all the speed you go in, you come take over land, you behaving like if you check it, these people behaving, the PPP behaving like if the foreparents left this land for them. Well, here, they got a thing coming. You're gonna see. You're gonna only hear, you're gonna see. Because now they have to answer. They're not only gonna see, now they have to answer for their actions. Because the aboriginals of the land, the Moors like us, we have authority. They can't shy away from that. We got something that governs them. You call it the treaty, the 1777 Treaty of Truth and Peace, that governs them. All of them in the Americas, North, South, Central America. And their laws, and their constitution that constitutes with the people is what governs them, not us. Is when we give up our constitutional rights to acts, codes, conducts, and statutes. Then they step in and take away the constitutional rights from you. Because you know what? The first thing they say, you abandon your rights. That means you don't know your constitution. You can't read and write. It is hard for you to comprehend. So they can come in and take your constitutional rights away from you. It is you, the living souls. And they can turn around and tell you, oh, you're black. This is the only way you can be identified. Then you're a human being. You're not a living soul anymore. You now become a human being. Color of words. And they got you living in fear. The presentation of a religious factor. And then they're going to lie to you and tell you, oh, uh, politics and church don't mix. It mix. Look who's the head of the whole. And wait. Look at the craziness. Look at the craziness. They talk about Queen Elizabeth a couple of nights ago. They said she's the head of the Commonwealth and the head of the church. That's what they said. She's the head of the Commonwealth and the head of the church. That's what they said. But if you turn it wrong, it's the same thing. The Pope is the head of the church. The Pope is the head of the church and also head of government, which is the Commonwealth. And every other thing falls under them. So church and politics goes hand in hand. So it is simple. When they go up there and they're fighting up, and they want the entire March month to be Indian Arrival Day, of course you can take it. It is the day when you arrived on those ships. So you have no lineage to Guyana. That's what they talk about. Somebody make sure to call me to tell me that. Oh, you see, we dominating. We got Indian Arrival Day. Of course. Give yourself a round of applause because you just gave away your evidence. The evidence that you're supposed to hold tells me now that yes, you have a date of arrival. 1845, the 5th of March. No, sorry, the 5th of May. 1845, yes. That's the day when you arrived. So how can you have lineage? And then you're telling me, you're abusing me when I tell you Mohandas Karamchand was a racist. Of course, Gandhi was a racist. Look how they're operating. You can imagine the de facto domicile CEO for the Corporation of Guyana issued a lease, actually for the whole of Essequibo, to one man. But what it is, it's a lease. None of them can own no land. It's a lease. But they're talking like they own the land. They own the land. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi can't come till he own land. He has to stay where he is in Hindustan. His lineage, his children, all of them. Fine, nobody's stopping you. We applauding you. We embrace your culture. It's good to. It's good to know the people who are living among us. We embrace your culture, we embrace your ideologies, but one thing we cannot embrace is the theft of what does not belongs to you. You can the treaty says you can come, you can invest. You have to pay royalties for investment. And if we feel that you have unjustly being wrong to us, well then you can be deported. Right, Ali? Right, Jack Dio? You can be deported. There's no complete ownership. All those who got pieces of paper that says they own land, no, that piece of paper doesn't say that you own land. One said this is a transport. You look at the etymology of transport, you can be transported off the land at any time. And one says this is a lease. That means your time could be up at a particular given date. The lease, the instructions of the lease said for if you do not cultivate, over a period of time it can be taken back from you. Oh, unless if they got the right type of government in place, they can carry on with it. They can show off themselves. But you can sing how much tune you want. The land doesn't belong to you. You comprehend now. So all them who got this fear factor, the pushing down the drain. Fear within a fear. And all those here, stop telling me about human rights. I had to tell somebody about that the other day because the word human means dead organisms. And you ain't dead, you're a living soul. You say that you're a human because you belong to a system. A corporation, you're their loyal subjects. Whatever they teach you, they say this is what you have to do. That's why for those who go wayward, they don't want anything to do with them. The first thing they say, oh, he mad, crazy, he heading good. Because you don't follow the system. You're external of the system. At least I don't want anything to do with the system anyhow. I'm free from it. Exactly. So, to those insensible ones on the comment, we have to do like what Jesus said. Forgive them for they know not what they do it. They're still domicile and they're still blind. You can't vex with them. Right? So y'all don't argue with them. Just leave them, let it talk the nonsense, and you don't argue. Right? But I want to thank you very much for tuning in. To those who tuned in for this hour and 21 minutes, I want to say that I'm happy that I had the time to come to you with some facts, some truths, some historical events that we didn't came here as slaves. We came here as traders. We came here as those who occupied the earth at a particular time. We were the first. We were the aboriginal, the indigenous people, and we will always remain that way. We have rights, and we will take that right and we will execute that right and exercise those rights according to the Treaty of 1777 that we have entered into all corporations of the Americas. So I want to say thank you very much. Stay safe, be careful, sanitize yourself, wear a mask. Don't forget the little ones you take in public places. Black love. Black love is to stand against every oppressive, racist, murderous person and to revolt against them. That's what black love is. It's not to represent a people, it's about a revolution. So it's a brand that I was created by me and branded and patented by me, and it is being sold on instruments and also on clothing. You can also contact me at 611-6575, 592-611-6575. That is for the upkeepment of the show and to make the show always a representation of a people. This is Dr. Matthews-Bey. Bay means title to the lands that you see you want to claim. Yes, that's what it means. Wonderful. This is Dr. Matthews-Bey saying good night and Cheerios for now.